So we'll get started. I'd like to call to order this committee of the whole meeting of the town of Saugeen Shores and extend a welcome to everyone in the chambers this evening. The first order of business is a declaration of pecuniary interest, and I'll remind every member of your responsibility. You can do so now or when it arises on the agenda. None declared. Then this evening we have one deputation, and it's John Mann. And welcome, John.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I ask initially that if anyone has a connection with OPG, that they recuse themselves with regard to anything regarding OPG's DGR. As a citizen of Saugeen Shores, I'm asking this council to withdraw its support for the OPG DGR. I'm asking it to stop accepting any payments, further payments from OPG or NWMO regarding DGRs. And I'm asking for the whole process, entire process, to start over from the beginning. And I base that upon the 7 years of unlawful DGR, Bruce County Council meetings that have been proven. And over those 7 years, the citizens, every citizen of Saugeen Shores didn't even know about it. So every citizen's affected in what I characterize as one of the most egregious violations of the Charter and democratic rights that that anybody in Canada has suffered. And it's right in our town. And the WHIP DGR, which the OPG DGR is modeled after, failed miserably on February 14 last year, or this year, 2014. The WHIP DGR is in Carlsbad, New Mexico. It's been closed since, it's been sealed since. And the New York Times says it may never open again. I don't want our town to be the Carlsbad WHIP of Canada. And this council, in the past, doesn't seem to have any interest in talking about it, not even inquiring into it. And we let Kincardine, who's our twin nuclear brother and sister, do all the talking for us. How is that possible? I look at the, and this is part of my deputation, the 7 years of unlawful DGR meetings. And the Joint Review Panel asked OPG to produce records, confirm that an OPG representative attended the Community Consultation Advisory Group meetings, provide any records, such as memos, minutes, or notes, produced by the OPG representatives. Such records, it says a Community Consultation Advisory Group can provide the most effective means of addressing community concerns during the planning and operational phase of a project. Such records would provide clarity and confidence in the degree of community involvement in the planning process. Well, all citizens in Saugeen Shores knew nothing about these meetings. Nothing. OPG's response: mayors provide input to the group on questions or concerns raised by community members. Well, we didn't even know these meetings were being held. And they were 2-hour, at a minimum, meetings over these 7 years, from 2005 through 2012. There have been 16 meetings between September 13, 2005, the inaugural meeting, and the end of 2012. There are no notes of meetings, official or otherwise, for meetings held between 2005 and 2008. We have no idea what happened. Between 2009 and the end of 2012, we have these official notes that are part of my deputation. These notes indicate that at Ken Nash in 2009, Ken Nash, the president and CEO of NWMO, provided an overview of the low and intermediate DGR. He said, the debate amongst environmental and anti-nuclear groups who have the project on their agendas, and he warned they will advance and amplify their opposition once the Joint Review Panel is named. You haven't seen anything yet. That's a quote from Ken Nash. Well, I'm not anti-nuclear, and I'm not a vocal opponent. I'm a citizen, and I knew nothing about this going on. Would he have said that if the citizens were in the room? Not a chance. And Duncan Hawthorne is on the record saying he doesn't agree with this two DGR process. which in my view is an absolute fraud, that 2 DGR nonsense. I'll get to that in a second. Dr. Binder, the CEO of CNSC, said at a 2009 meeting, in thanking the mayors for the opportunity to participate at the meeting, he said he hoped their next meeting with him would be at the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the low and intermediate DGR. He's the watchdog. And nobody from the citizens, none of our citizens are there. We don't even know about it. And Dr. Binder's talking about the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the DGR. Would he have said that at an open meeting? Not a chance. And the timing of the launching, then they start talking about the high-level spent fuel DGR. The general consensus by all of the mayors that they must concentrate on the fact that they're different projects and subjected to separate processes, and to make sure that when the citizens ask, it's 2 projects. Make sure they got that right. And then Charlie Bagnetto says, let's not tell the citizens until after the election. This is 2009. Because of the negative backlash at the polls, we knew nothing about it. So then there's another meeting where all the mayors agree that they should speak individually before the joint review panel on behalf of their respective municipalities, and then assistants will be required to prepare the mayors for their participation in the hearing. So OPG is giving our mayor assistance on what to say to the joint review panel, and our citizens know nothing about it. And then finally, the WHIP trip. They talk about how WHIP is such a wonderful thing, and WHIP is what they base their safety case on. And this is part of their selling the DGR to our mayor at the Bruce County meetings. No citizen in Bruce County is there to challenge that. And then we find out, well, WHIP failed and is still closed. And this council doesn't care. I think it's totally irresponsible. And the reason it's urgent here now is because May 6th is when the report's going to be due. May 6th, the joint review panel will give their approval. And I can virtually guarantee they're going to approve this thing. And once they do, and they dig that thing, they're going to put the spent fuel in there, because the clothes and rags don't need a DGR. And they're just going to say, well, we're not going to build another one next door and a few miles away. We'll put the spent fuel in there because we don't need the room for the clothes and rags. And we don't care about that. And then we've got the June 26, 2012 letter from our town of Saugeen Shores, through Mike Smith, the mayor. On behalf of the Council of Town of Saugeen Shores, I'm pleased to provide this letter of support for OPG's DGR. Based on what? June 26, 2012. There were 7 years of meetings where the citizens didn't even know existed and had no input. And I went to those open houses they had throughout those 7 years and asked, who's going to have I was assured, it's just clothes and rags, John, don't worry about it. And high-level spent fuel's not coming. Well, all of a sudden, 21 towns are asking for the high level, including 5 in our county. Now, all of a sudden, Saugeen Shores has unsafe geology. Aaron Eldersley has unsafe geology. How can Kincardine have safe geology a few kilometers away? And then just last week, Brockton was knocked out of the loop, where they're unsuitable for DGR too. So South Bruce now and here in Kinloss are going to run the show here now, and we're out of it. The CLC disappeared, NWMO disappeared once they found our geology unsafe. So South Kinloss, a community of 7,000, is going to say, well, we'll have the spent fuel here. That's our community. And we don't care. And the County of Bruce supports it, based upon the many updates and presentations we have received from OPG throughout the entire regulatory approvals process, but in particular during the project development years between 2006 and 2010. During those development years, we had no say whatsoever. We didn't even know they were going on. And do you think that this 2 DGR process would have survived had we been on the ground floor on this thing? There's just there's absolutely no sense to it. You can put it all in 1 DGR. You don't need 2, and that wouldn't have survived. But after 10 years of misrepresenting it to our town and the citizens of our town, it's going to happen. I think they're just going to put the DGR in kindergarten and throw the high-level spent fuel in there. I'm positive of that. But in any event, I'm asking this council, to live up to their campaign pledge to get the community input and allow us to engage. And I'm just surprised that we can't have a give and take on this. There's no give and take. There's just nothing. There cannot be a question and answer period. And I want these 7 years of unlawful meetings. I want OPG, NWMO, and CNSC and the heads of those entities to have these meetings and answer our questions. The citizens answer our questions. And as a result, I'm asking you to withdraw the support because I don't know where you get this support other than through these unlawful meetings. There was no support for the high-level spent fuel because we hadn't learned anything. Well, we hadn't learned anything here for the low and intermediate because we were out of touch, didn't even have notice of these 7 years of unlawful meetings.
John, I'm going to ask you to summarize, please.
I'm hoping that you will engage in this, that you will withdraw support for the OPG DGR, that you will not accept any more of those payments, which are nothing more than bribery. I've requested that the criminal code be amended to include those as bribe payments to a town, and to start this process over so that we can be included. When you lose the trust, and I guarantee you've lost my trust, and of every level of government in this absolute violation of all charter rights.
John, please summarize. We've heard these arguments many times.
Asking that we start the process over and require OPG, MWMO, and CNSC to meet with us and start it over. And I ask that I be allowed to respond to questions or comments. Thank you, Mayor.
Questions for John? Thank you, John. Oh, Neil.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. John Mann, I want to personally thank you for this effort and your dedication to our democratic freedoms. You are making many interesting and points and important questions worthy of follow-up. As you know, we too are respectfully of differing opinions when it comes to any DGR requirements. It is my hope that you will afford us, this new Council of 9, the next 4 years, leave of the need to revisit previous events, meetings, happenings, and the wounds. I can assure you that I will always speak openly and honestly with you about such matters over the next 4 years. I'd like to change focus a little bit here and talk about what you wrote to us, what you sent to us. In your numbered paragraph sections number 44 and 45, I believe you spoke of the need for us to be world leaders in figuring out how to deal with spent nuclear fuel and waste products. To this end, I note we are on the same page and have now both publicly spoken about the need to create a center of excellence, a think tank, a university, or some such entity here in Saugeen Shores. I think it's an opportunity.
Absolutely.
I will help you, John, as we are directed to create such an establishment. Unfortunately for you, but fortunately for us, the NWMO is willing to provide us with new money, for example, to fund efforts that recognize leadership. I will serve a notice of motion to my peers asking for a minimum of $10,000 of that annual amount to be set aside and provided to a committee, which I truly hope you will be a member of, or an advisor to, whose sole purpose will be to secure an educational institution in some form here in Saugeen Shores. And I thank you, John.
Well, and May 6th is I appreciate that. May 6th is the critical deadline here, because once this DGR is approved, it will be built and we will become a whip, Canadian whip. And that's my concern. We don't have 4 years.
You've mentioned that and discussed that earlier, John. I think
but see, I only get 10 minutes, Mayor.
We've had 10 minutes on many occasions, John.
I will keep coming until I get 7 years worth of 10 minutes.
You're welcome to do that. You're welcome to do that.
Well, I've got a constitutional right to do it.
Thank you, John. Cheryl.
Hi, John. I'm optimistic that, building on what Neil has said, that there are new ideas afloat. Just on November 17th of this year, the president of the Canadian Nuclear Association, John Barrett, was quoted in an article in the Toronto Star saying that he is agnostic about the nuclear waste solution as being a deep burial. And I think that there is a lot of work being done around the world about alternative options, and I would hope that our area really explores those, because I think that's where a lot of promising economic future lies, with alternative options in terms of recycling and reusing. So I'm not as pessimistic, I guess, as you are in terms of what the future. I think that's a great economic promise for our region.
Well, I appreciate Neil's comments, certainly, but we've got to do it quickly, because once they build this, the experts of how to handle nuclear waste is gone. So that's why it's imperative that we stop it now and look at what Neil has brought up here today. And Mayor, I think the world of you. I said that in my delegation at Bruce County, and I still do. We disagree on how we handle this, but I still admire you a lot. Thanks.
Thank you, John. The next item on the agenda is the General Government Staff Report, and it has to do with the Nuclear Waste Management Organization Payment and Reserve Fund, and our Treasurer, Director of Finance, Kate Allen, will present.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In May 2010, the Nuclear Waste Management Organization, the acronym MWMO, launched a site selection process to identify a safe location for long-term placement of used nuclear waste. Saugeen Shores was one of the 21 communities that came forward to participate in the assessment studies to explore the potential to be selected as a suitable host. The site selection process for Saugeen Shores concluded in January 2014, when it was determined that we did not meet the site evaluation factors, and further assessments were concluded at that time. To recognize the significant contributions that all voluntary participants made in participating in the first phase of the investigations, the NWMO is providing $400,000 to each community to establish a community well-being reserve fund. The funds are to be held in a designated reserve and are recommended to be used towards projects that support sustainability and community well-being. Examples provided by the NWMO include projects or programs that benefit community youth or seniors, energy efficiency, or economic development. The financial impact of these funds is upon establishing the reserve. We will ensure that upon receipt of the funds, the balance is transferred to the reserve created for this purpose. Interest will be accrued from the date of receipt until the funds are ultimately expended, using the same interest rate that we earn on other cash balances. The funds have not yet been earmarked for any specific project and could be a topic for discussion at the next capital budget meeting.
Thank you, Kate. Then the recommendation is that Council authorize an interest-bearing reserve fund to be established and maintained for the purpose of holding funds received from the Nuclear Waste Management Organization, and further that this reserve be only used to fund future projects, programs, or services that benefit community youth or seniors, community sustainability, energy efficiency, or economic development initiatives, or otherwise deemed to improve the community well-being. Cheryl.
Yes, I'd like to, I'm not sure how I go about this. Sorry?
Councillor Grace, I probably apologize for that.
I should have said. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to request that perhaps if, I don't know how expensive or difficult it would be to publicize this information to the public and then ask for input in terms of what kinds of things we might be able to use. I'm just thinking of senior programs or, I know there are a lot of things that we need that this money could be used for, but I'd like to see some public input about what possibilities we might be able to use it for. So maybe a survey could go on our website and we could get some public input. Thanks.
Further comments? All in favor of the
just that I spoke to it a moment ago, asking to put notice of motion for our next meeting to request that a portion of this money be set aside to form a new committee to look at a Centre of Excellence. So rolling that into striking committee's report on committee functioning, strategic planning, something in the future we can work on it on the outside?
I would prefer, if you're going to make a notice of motion, that you make it in the proper form so that we understand what it's about. Neil. So like the one you already have on the agenda for tonight, can you do that for the next meeting? Thank you. Councillor Huber.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I certainly appreciate the influx of some funds that I think will be used in very interesting ways over a period of time. I just am a little bit cautious about a great deal of conversation yet about how we spend the money or how we even start to think about how we spend the money. We don't have the funds yet. We have some budget meetings coming up. Certainly, it doesn't have to be spent immediately. So I look forward to the discussion that we'll have over just the many ways that hopefully we can reach out and do a number of things over a period of time to take advantage of a little bit of a bonus at this particular time. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Charbonneau.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to clarify, because of the final sentence of the report, it says that this will be a topic for discussion in the next capital budget meeting, but Kate in her presentation said it might be or may be. I just wanted to be very clear. Is that the intention then of staff to bring this forward as an item for discussion in the capital budget? Next, I just want to give some clarity to council as to when they will have the opportunity to have this discussion, since there seems to be some eagerness to discuss it.
I think we're kind of speculating here about even whether we're going to get this money or not to start with. But if I could say one thing, I think we would probably wait until we get the reserve fund set up, and then if we have a capital budget, then we can probably have that discussion. But I think we should wait until we get the reserve fund set up before we start to dream up ways of spending it.
It's so
Is that
fun
fine?
to dream, Mr. Mayor.
Pardon me?
It's fun to dream.
I know. Well, absolutely. Imagine that. Councillor Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is it, I'd like to request a recorded vote.
Okay. Are we ready for the question? No objection. Call the vote.
Okay. So I'm going to call your name in alphabetical order. If you're in support of the motion, please say yes. If you're opposed, please say no. Charbonneau?
Yes.
Grace?
Yes.
Huber?
Yes.
Matheson?
Yes.
Minaj?
Yes.
Myatt?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. My apologies.
I knew that was going to happen
Sorry.
eventually.
Sorry. My apology, Mike Myatt.
Yes.
Dave Myatt.
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
And Smith.
Yes.
That vote is carried.
Thank you. Then the next item on the agenda is a staff report that has to do with council business planning and priority session, and our CAO will present.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As part of the orientation session organized for the incoming council, it was noted that there was a desire to arrange an informal session to address a number of topics that would begin to drive the corporate business plan for the upcoming term. As council is aware, there are a number of major potential new capital projects that would, if implemented in all or in part, produce a significant impact on both the tax rate and our future borrowing capacity. Those potential projects require consideration in the context of our existing fiscal circumstances in which provincial transfer payments continue to decline, and our draft asset management plan indicates the necessity to continue to expand monetary investment in core infrastructure to maintain those vital services well into the future. Coupled with the need to discuss major capital priorities, staff have also heard individual elected officials desire a forum for conversation on a number of the other substantive issues, including those noted in the recommendations. Senior management team have met to discuss a method on how to facilitate the session council desires in a manner that meets the open meeting obligations of the municipality. So the suggested format includes 2 phases with an initial workshop involving the participation of elected officials, a CAO, and a facilitator to discuss the proposed topics together with any others that Council may wish to add or delete from the list proposed. It is recommended that the initial phase exclude participation of the senior staff group in order to provide the most wide-ranging flexibility for conversation. The first session would be followed in short order by a second phase working session, bringing Council and senior staff together to review and synthesize the outcomes in the initial discussion. Those results would then be summarized in a document submitted to a future Committee of the Whole meeting for consideration, and those outcomes requiring individual Council consideration would be flagged in the documents that would be subject to future staff reports of the appropriate department. In addition, depending on the outcome and contents of the document, it would be at that point that next steps, including determinations about additional public input, consultation with community groups or other levels of government or agencies, could be made. Senior staff collectively believe that the approach outlined would be the most expedient method to establish the forum for discussion that is identified, and we indicate that it is not a typical strategic plan approach, is that it's not our understanding as to what Council wishes to do, and we are proposing the funding in the draft 2015 budget, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Larry. Then the recommendation is that the committee authorize staff to establish an agenda and a date for a facilitated planning session, initially including Council and the CAO early in 2015, to discuss the public service bargain identified in the David Siegel orientation presentation, discretionary advisory and ad hoc committee structure and mandates, procedural bylaw updates and revisions, and councillor strategic priorities for the upcoming term and beyond. Comments or questions? Councillor Mike Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just through you to our CEO, if I could, just for a point of clarification, Larry, the second last paragraph of the report, you do talk about a similar long-term visioning document, as it is our understanding that is not the type of exercise Council wishes to embark on. I wanted to clarify my position on strategic planning is that I just want to clarify we're talking about this particular exercise. And I wouldn't want to paint it with a paintbrush that we're at no point interested in carrying out a full-fledged strategic plan at some point in time. So, for the purpose of this report, we're talking about just this step. We're not precluding an opportunity later to carry out a full strategic plan. Correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Further questions, comments? Deputy Mayor Charbonneau.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wonder, Larry, could you just clarify for me, because I think it ought to be clarified, whether these are, what you're proposing are public meetings or not public meetings?
These meetings would be technically open to the public if someone wished to attend.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Vice Deputy Mayor Hubert.
I appreciate the staff report coming forward about this. This is something we should do on a regular basis, and we did once or twice during the 2 terms previous to this that I've been on council. We did attempt discussions like this, so I think it's a good exercise, and I think it'll bring to light some really interesting creativity and a lot of good ideas. So thanks for bringing this forward so quickly, Larry.
No more hands up then. I'll call the question. All in favor of the recommendation? Opposed, if any? That's carried. The next item on the agenda is a staff report and has to do with the council remuneration and 1/3 tax allowance. And again, our Director of Finance, Kate Allen, will present.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report is a housekeeping thing, really. It builds on the bylaw originally passed back in 2006. Basically, the Act allows for the designation of 1/3 of council's remuneration to be expenses. And then, so for example, if your total remuneration would be $30,000, your T4 would include $24,000 of taxable income, and the other $10,000 is designated as expenses. The nice thing here, too, is that the town can take a GST rebate on those expenses. However, that doesn't have any impact on your own remuneration. It does not. This does not impact your ability to claim expenses actually incurred. So for mileage, accommodation, things like that that you incur, you still submit those and are reimbursed. What this does is it reflects an understanding that you do incur personal expenses which are not directly reimbursed by the municipality, and that would be for such things as a home office and any personal brochures, anything like that that you would incur expenses for.
Thank you, Kate. And the recommendation is that Council of the Town of Saugeen Shores authorizes the bylaw to indicate Council's continued intent that 1/3 of the remuneration paid to elected members of Council and its local boards be deemed as a tax-free allowance for expenses. Vice Deputy Mayor Huber.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to make it known that none of us makes $30,000. So if you got a little bit excited when she used that example, that ain't the way that it works. So just thought I would throw that in.
I wanted to pick something easily divisible by 3.
Understood, but I saw a couple of heads come up, and it's not about $30,000. Thank you.
The math's easy there. Any other comments? All in favor of the recommendation? Opposed, if any? That's carried. The next item on the agenda is communications petitions for the Committee of the Whole information, and it looks like we've been very popular here. We have 14 items on there, so if you there's any particular comments or questions to it, by all means.
Yeah, I have several. The 6th one, which is from the Minister of Seniors Affairs. This involves grant planning for an action plan for seniors. I just got a couple of questions. Will this information go directly to groups like the Chantry Center Park, Probus, or would that be something we would forward from the town to them?
I suspect they will be aware of it, but I think we will also contact and ensure that those groups get it.
Okay, and are we able to provide any assistance to those groups in terms of filling out a grant application?
I'm sure we do. I know we have in the past with different applications.
Okay. I have another question on the next one, which is the Ministry of Education's announcement of the new process for school closures. And one of the changes listed is a new rule for municipal governments, for municipal governments in the Accommodation Review Committee. What is the new role for municipal governments?
Actually, Councillor Grace, I seen that, and I went to the ministry website. There's nothing.
Okay.
So I contacted AMO, and they gave us a link. The link that we had in that report didn't go anywhere, so they gave me an updated link that really referred to the 2009 guidelines. Nothing about any new or upgraded. So I contacted our MPP, and she wasn't really aware of it, but was going to get back to me. And any information I get, I will forward to you if you want. But it's kind of odd because they will put that release out, and then there's nothing from the ministry. So, and the comment period is tomorrow for AMO and the 18th for the Ministry of Education. So.
Okay.
I'm as baffled as anybody about it.
Okay. And my final question on the communications is for the Union Gas communication, which is protesting the Trans-Canada Pipeline, Energy East oil pipeline. So is AMO taking a position on this issue?
I don't know for sure. I didn't see, but if you check their website, they will tell you current issues and where they have.
Okay.
Or if you want, we'll have a local. That Michael Jasek will be a local contact out of the AMO officer, Pat Vanini. Give them a call, and they can.
Thank you.
If you need some assistance, get a hold of Larry, and we'll get the contact from AMO. Any other comments? Nothing. And the next item on the agenda is a report of department heads, and we have an information report from the clerk on the municipal election accessibility compliance. And if you want to, anything you want to say?
Thank you. So this is our a report that meets the accessibility standards. I've identified that the mail-in ballot process, it does take into consideration a lot of the accessibility needs. It eliminates the need to travel to the polling station. We understand that the instructions are a little difficult to read and comprehend, so we did post a video online on how to use the vote-by-mail system. We've also posted online the voter lookup, which allowed people to go in and see if they were on the voters list, or they could contact the municipal office. Our staff are trained in the accessible customer service, and the town office is barrier-free, anyone wishing to come to the town office and ask questions. And according to our training with the accessible standards, we do allow service animals to assist any of the electors. In 2014, no assistance was required. As per usual, the town staff went to the Southampton Care Centre in Hampton Court, and this year we went to Elgin Lodge as well to provide assistance with the ballots. We opened on 2 Saturday mornings, which hopefully provided some additional level of service. And we continue to monitor the needs of the electors when they attend the office, and we will provide them with a magnifying glass, verbal instructions when they are required to have the replacement ballots. And we take an oath to assist an elector if required. We did provide a ballot booth at the town office in the last few days of the election, just so that they could be accommodated. And if they did require assistance, then we do need to make sure that the oath to assist an elector is provided to staff, by the staff to anyone that's assisting. So overall, we feel that we've addressed any of the accessibility needs for the 2014 municipal election.
Thank you, Linda. Any questions for Linda? Councillor Grace.
Yes, I'd like to first of all thank Linda and her staff for their hard work on the election. I'm trying to find somewhere you recommend revisiting the election process, I think early in 2017. I would like to request that we try to do some kind of feedback survey now while it's fresh in our minds for the public. I know, and it may not be just on the topic of accessibility, but the election in general, and people's good things they liked, things they maybe had some problems with. Thank you.
Councillor Madison.
Mr. Mayor, one of the big questions that was asked to me was how was the electors list generated? I know a lot of people were not on it that thought they should be on it, and I think that put a great strain and burden on the office staff trying to run through the big numbers, but I believe we should have a little better idea of who the eligible voters are, because there was quite a few missed.
Certainly. So yes, Impact does create the list, and they're not creating an electors list, so they give us a database, and then it's up to the municipal staff to create the voters list. The door-to-door enumeration does not take place anymore. It is online. Impact did, I believe, what they felt was their best, starting in March of 2014, to advertise that if you make sure that you're on the list by going online. They feel that they had success with it. We certainly did have questions, but we've had questions every election in the past as well. So it is something that both Impact and the town staff will continue to work on.
With the provincial election that was held just prior to that, would it not have better served us to use the provincial electors list?
Because there's freedom of information and they share databases, Impact gets some information from the provincial and the federal governments from their election, but they have a hard time matching it. They are doing their best. Certainly Impact has gone into a great length at trying to improve their systems, and I can see improvements that have been made.
Councillor Moraes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to Linda and you then, and in keeping it in concert with Councillor Cheryl Grace here, I'm understanding that there's still another report to come about the election process. I don't think we're waiting until 2017 to see the report on what was good, bad, or indifferent about the whole process, whether or not we want to stick with a ward system, whether or not we want to change from a mail-in ballot to an online computer system? I mean, all those other issues. When will we have that opportunity to discuss that, and can it be sooner than later? Thank you.
Yeah, I think it could be at any time. Any of those things through the right process. I think, and again, at any time. I think there's some. I don't want to start debating the merits of what is right and what is wrong here, but other than to say, yeah, we can address it at any time, Neil.
You would support a notice of motion asking for that?
It wouldn't matter if I supported it or not.
In the future?
It would get to this agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just asked the question sort of also carrying on from where Councillor Grace left off on the terms of the timing of that review, and I know that the previous council reviewed the voting system about, 8 months or so prior to the 2014 election, and I too would like to see the voting system revisited, and whether mail-in or internet voting. And earlier, I think there could be a benefit to that. And there's a financial benefit if you do go internet voting, which could have a trickle-down effect to our operating budgets if we were to make the decision earlier, if that was the direction council wanted to go, apart from other issues. I just wondered, though, Linda, could you just, was there a reason why you picked early 2017 as a timing for that review? Is there something that we aren't aware of that makes that a good time to have the review?
No, there's nothing specific about that particular date. We certainly want time for AMCTO to gather the information from all the municipalities so that they can see what was good and what worked for the various types of elections. So
if I may, Mr. Mayor, I would just suggest, I think the way I would like to see it, prefer to see it happen is for staff to come forward with an opportunity, a recommendation on that. They've done that once before. I'm sure they can do it again, but I guess my encouragement would be for them to do that as soon as possible, as soon as they're able to do that with all relevant information in hand. But I think there would be definite benefit in us having that review as early in this term as we possibly can. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any further questions? If not, then that's the end of our agenda, and we will go to council. And this evening, we will start with Councillor Dave Mayette.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was very pleased to hear the deputations tonight and the conversations that were raised. I see Mr. Mann has left the room, but I too appreciate his passion for the issues around the NWMO, and I'm also pleased that we were able to come to consensus on that issue, and the reports were in order, and the final report about the elections was also, I didn't make a comment, but I would like just to say that the staff did a good job conducting the election this time, and I look forward to that review, and if changes are needed, then we need to make those changes sooner than later. And just maybe a point of clarification, I didn't ask the question, but certain changes to the way the election is conducted we can make as a council, but others need to get more broader input, is my understanding. So if that's the way it needs to go, then we should start that debate sooner.
Thank you. Councillor Grace.
Yes, last night I attended the Lessons and Carols service at the Southampton United Church. It's quite an extraordinary presentation because it was interdenominational, which included short presentations by 10 of our clergy throughout our community, and then the chantry singers and the Allegro Youth Chorus did an absolutely beautiful presentation of not just Christmas carols, but other kinds of songs of the season, and it was really wonderful. It was at the Southampton United Church, absolutely packed, standing room only, and the proceeds were going to the Women's House of Grey Bruce, and so it was just a really moving experience. And I'd just like to thank all of the charitable works that are taking place this season in our community, the large groups like the Food Bank Drive and Salvation Army and all of those projects, but also there are a number of projects that are much quieter, with people raising money for individuals and for families, and it's great. Thank you.
Councillor Minaj.
Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Mayor. I've got lots to speak to tonight, so I'll decline anything else now. Thank you.
Councillor Huber.
Thanks. The one thing I thought I was going to lose. Councillor Mayette and Councillor Minaj and I were all at the town Christmas celebration on Friday night, and I thought I would be the third one on the list. It was a nice party. Recognized long service of a number of town employees, and certainly always is a good opportunity to sit and speak in a much more casual kind of sense with town employees. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Mike Myatt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last Friday, I attended the 2014 Ontario West Municipal Conference in London, and I just wanted to say it was a lot of really solid sessions, good education, and I just wanted to. It was sponsored by the Ministry of Municipal Affairs in partnership with AMO, but I was wondering if through you, Mr. Mayor, to our clerk, Linda, if there were some very good sessions I mentioned, and Cheryl, I know Councillor Grace mentioned she'd like to have some of the printouts and the files for some of the speakers, and so I'm just wondering, through you to the clerk, if we could maybe, that information is supposed to be posted on AMO's website the end of this week, first of next week, so, and Cheryl, there's some really good information. There were sessions on, just quickly, it was on capital asset management planning, housing development corporations, downtown vibrancy, strategic planning. So it was a really good session. So that information, if Linda could send out, I would appreciate it. This Thursday, the Heritage Committee will be doing some Heritage Registry research work. I know the chair of the committee, Vice Deputy Mayor Huber, no doubt will be there. And we're having lunch at 12 o'clock with the Heritage Committee. That'll be our final get-together. So looking forward to that. Just wanted to extend everyone a very Merry Christmas and prosperous New Year.
Thanks, Mike. Councillor Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have a lot to say tonight. I apologize for not being at the party on Friday night, but prior commitments to coaching with the local minor teams kept me out. I was watching from below as festivities were taking part above. So on that note, I'd just like to wish everybody in council a very Merry and Happy Christmas, and to all the people of Saugeen Shores, I wish them a very prosperous 2015.
Thanks, Don. Councillor Rich.
Well, it's the third meeting of the year and last meeting of the year, I guess. I don't think that, it was a light year for us. But I look forward to the budget process coming up, and I just wanted to wish everybody and all your families a very Merry Christmas, because it's a great time to spend time with family and friends, and I hope you enjoy the holiday season.
Thanks, Sean. Deputy Mayor Charbonneau.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I too was at the town Christmas party. I think Vice Deputy Mayor Huber missed me. She was partying too hard, but I was there as well, and it was great. I just wanted to say thank you to all of the. I want to say thank you to the staff who put that event on. It's a great event, and it's a great one to attend every year. And I spent last weekend skating and doing all sorts of things with my kids, riding Clydesdales and going all over town. And the skating is an important one that I want to highlight, because there's a whole bunch of sponsored skates and sponsored swims going on in our facilities over the next couple of weeks as a result of the generosity of a number of businesses and organizations throughout this community. And I just encourage everybody to remember that, and to remind everybody that those are happening, and get out to our facilities and enjoy them for free while you can. Because the prices may go up in 2015, but if nothing else, go out and enjoy them one way or the other. And I also just want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Luke. I just attended the Christmas party too, but I got the opportunity to say a few words. And the one, it was also, as you will recall, was employee recognition. And after I sat down, I had thought I forgot to say anything about the employees. And I know many of them aren't here tonight, but I think it's an opportunity to, on behalf of council, this one and the former one, to really thank staff for what they do for us, because on a daily basis they deal with all kinds of difficult issues, difficult people, and they come here smiling and make us all look very good. And for that, I thank you very much. And I hope your patience lasts as long as your time here at Saugeen Shores, because you really do make Saugeen Shores a really good spot. One other thing, though, today I had the opportunity to go cut the ribbon at one of our new businesses, the former councillor Marcel's Swiss Chalet, and they had a dry run on Saturday night. He said he fed 400 people, and there was a big lineup right there at the ribbon. So it's a beautiful building, and if you get the opportunity, stop in and see Marcel and wish him the best of luck. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Don and Luke, all in favor? Can we start again at 8:30? 10 minutes.